Okay, so I think I can do 5 videos a day. I think I can do one more video. I did a lot of talking in the last couple of videos. Let me see if I can shut the hell up and listen to someone. I was trying to get this guy in.
Ministry as a pretext for the invasion, the staging of a supposed attack by Russian troops from the territory of Transnistria is planned. For this purpose, the Ukrainian saboteurs participating in the staged invasion will be disguised in the uniforms of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. You know, I mean, it's plausible because they probably got a lot of Russian uniforms. I mean, they think about how many people have died in this conflict. Now, I'm not saying that this is 100% true, but where there's smoke, there's definitely fire. And it appears as though the war is about to break out
The
on that
imagery is
front. Now, if
unbelievable.
you guys don't think that this war is about to expand into World War III, why on earth is Poland installing these anti-tank barriers along the border here with Kaliningrad? That's this country right here, or this exclave. They're installing these things, these hedgehogs.
See what the
This is
camera
a
sees.
Czechoslovakian invention.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never understood.
Yeah, you're seeing
why
the
they
big
couldn't
ones. The
tank
large
just, like,
ones should be clear in the camera.
tie a tow rope onto that thing and pull them away one by one, or is it just to slow them down? Maybe you military guys can tell me what that's all about. Anyways, they got these things put up by border crossings by both Belarus and Kaliningrad. Speaking of Belarus, Belarus is going to be creating a volunteer force, they say, of 100,000 to 150,000 guys. Volunteer military force. Here's Lukashenko with a gun. Now, one thing, you know, we're told that these are like authoritarian dictatorships. And while that may be true, I'm looking at their gun laws, and I did not realize that Belarus has some of the most liberal, in the truest sense of the word, gun laws out there in Europe. Get a load of this. Citizens are allowed to only use bolt-action rifles and shotguns for hunting. Fair enough. But pistols and handguns may be carried in public for self-protection, and a pistol license is required to carry pistols in public. Can we do that in Canada? No, we can't even have pistols anymore.
I know.
Jeez, maybe I should move there. Just for the firearms, of course. However, Belarusians are legally allowed to use weapons from any of the three classes. Oh, and they're also allowed to own assault rifles. I don't know if that's full autos or what, but they're very similar to what's going on in Switzerland. Currently ranks 4th in the world for gun ownership, below Yemen, topping Switzerland. So, interesting, isn't it? Very, very interesting. I wonder where the 2A guys are on that situation.
So I don't want to do too much talking. Because I did the last 4 videos I just did, I was talking through the entire videos and my head spinning and everything. But what he just said there is something else that I've been trying to stress for a long time, since the beginning of doing this, finding the system. So when you go back and you look at my series, I started out because I noticed there was something with color. I know a lot of the contrast was coming from the colors. And then I had to figure out not only colors, because things got a little bit confusing. Because when I did it on a star, I had color chart running one way, and then I had lights and shadows running another way, because there's all these different shades that I was not allowed to consider colors. I still do. I still do in my mind, but I know that it's not accepted when I'm talking to other people. They won't accept the lights and shadows, in other words, blacks and whites. They won't accept those as colors. The color chart starts differently on the star. I was doing it on a star. But other people that I talk to who are more educated than I am, the imagery in here is unfucking real, man. It's unbelievable. How the fuck could you people not be seeing this? How the hell does a video like this have 20 views, right? It's fucking unbelievable. See. Yes. Yes. You cannot tell me Yeah, you don't see it. I mean, you have to look. You have to open your fucking eyes. You have to look. Um, Unless you think I'm like some CGI guy or something like that, then okay. Then I could see people coming on and saying, "Oh yeah, that's all CGI shit" or whatever. And then I at least would know that someone's looking, and then I could, debate or argue it out and prove to you and bring you with your own camera, and you could do the same thing because everybody can. Um, but no, it never fucking happened. Never goes down like that. It's always just ignoring what I'm showing you. Unfucking believable, man. I mean, come on. Come the fuck on. But then again, when I go and look at some of my videos, that these are clouds, by the way. These are just clouds. I'm still on that Clayton Morris Part 156 video. That's the one I've been doing all through here. I'm taking my camera in my hand, giving you different angles of perspective, right? That's all I'm doing. I'm at the very end of the video. I don't know, what part of it, how many minutes are left on it, a minute or two. Um, you can certainly do your own cropping. Now, there are thousands of images in here, but I'm only just giving you the larger ones. I've been doing that the whole video. But you can certainly take your camera in your own hand, go to this video, pause it, and you can start cropping like I've been showing you in all my videos. Because in this one here, you have everything. You have the entire, you got eye, nose, mouth, huge human face right there, very clear to see. Looks like you might even have a little bit of the neck going in that one. And it's image within image within image, so don't let that confuse you. I'm changing my angles of perspective, and I'm purposely cropping because there's a lot of imagery over here, even just as good if not better. But this one has the whole head all the way back to the ear, which again is other images because there's image within image within image. But it gets close to the sun, but you can still see the eye back here coming through the sun, eye, nose, and mouth coming through. See them? Okay, and then I'll give you the next one. Cropping them for you quickly with my own fingers. That's all I'm using for cropping. Now I'll go to the next one. And then I can start at the bottom and work up and say image within image within image within image. Right? I'm using my fingers to crop and bring you in different lights and shadows so that you can appreciate and see what it is that I'm trying to show you. It's the true creator's work. It's all around us. So now I'm going to do this so that I'm going to bring you that eye, that nose with that mouth, and just try to get you only him for a minute. Okay? Because see, the other one's starting to come in. If I don't crop them right, you're going to start getting this one. Human faces. Then with the next one, see him with the eye here, eye over there that you can't see the whole eye because of the angle. His nose is right here, mouth is right here. Okay. Now, what I was starting to say, and I'm probably already fucking running out of time because the minutes are just cranking by today. The colors. So I started looking into all that, into the colors because I was curious about it all. Of course, there were certain things that I had to have the answers to in order to go forward. And one of the things that I was looking out for was noticing that the dark colors, no matter what the situation, whether it was a tree, the clouds, the moon, it appeared that the darker colors, in other words, I was calling them black at the time, but then I realized it was all different shades and they have different abilities of electromagnetic capabilities, is the way that I look at it, because the darker colors were pushing and pulling the lighter colors into place. Even in situations where it seemed opposite of that, I had to look at it. In other words, if I was looking at the sky and it's a blue sky, and then all of a sudden different, let's say they bring some mineral streaks through, spray the skies, and then therefore anything that was white, light gray, all the way, yeah, just do the whites and the light grays, and there was many of them. Milky white, yellowish white, that kind of thing, different shades of white. Um, then all of a sudden you get to the blue sky, and that was what you would consider the darker colors. That was going to be black in my camera. That's when I first started noticing the builders, because I noticed that all the shapes were triangular shapes. At the time, Jamie Lee from A Plain Truth was the series that I believe I was working on when I found all that. And when I was working on his series, I was pissed because two reasons. First, he came out with. First thing he did was he came out with the flying space alien nonsense. Space alien shit. He's triangular, what he was calling spaceships and all this shit. And the second thing he got me on, because I was also already onto the Metellus at the time. Once I got onto the Metellus is a nanocarbons that decide the builders use them as building blocks to build everything in this realm, including the bio realm. So these carbons are used, and when they're absorbing and secreting, they're absorbing and secreting into each other throughout every build. So depending on what you feed the system will depend on what they build, what the system builds. I don't want to complicate or confuse that, because we were just talking about semen levels going down, and when we talk about the false creator, such creator dividing male from female, to make both sexes, because before that there were no both sexes. Everybody absorbed and secreted. That was before we were bio. We were a more electrical species. The species that I'm talking about right here. So let me hit play again. So that was through the sunroof. I remember this day. Was it through the sunroof? Yeah, it was. This was a long time ago. This is an old video, man. That don't get this is fucking videos. I'm the only one watching my videos. It's pretty fucking sad, man. All right, let's see. Let's see what this is gonna go. Yeah, it's a really good video. I'm gonna, while I'm setting this up, I should. So yeah, it goes out there anyway. Alright, let's put this guy back on. Well, I'm tired. I'm doing this, otherwise I'll be too distracted. I still never finished saying what I was trying to say. The colors are very important. So even in the bio system, when you go and look at the True Creator's work, you're gonna realize now, anybody that's coming to my channel that might be racist on any scale, I don't care if it's whites racist against blacks, blacks racist against whites, or browns racist against yellows, as far as all the colors and nationalities go, you're not going to like being in my channel, because what I'm going to be telling you and showing you, and I always do, you're not going to like hearing it. So just go away if that's the case, if you are someone who's prejudiced, racist, or something like of that nature, I'm not talking about the average bigot or whatever, because we're all programmed. So if you're product of our environments, we're all product of our environment. So if your environment was bigot, I don't care about bigotry or even racial slurs or anything. If you're watching me watch my racial slurs, it's only because of the times that we're in that I would even watch out for that kind of thing. Otherwise, I have no problem with it. Like if you call me cracker or whatever, I don't give a fuck about none of that stuff. It's bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. What it is I want to show you is too important to be caring about stupid shit. The ones I'm talking about are the really seriously racist people. You know, I don't even know how many there exist, but they're out there. Even the casual bigotry, I would say, stuff like that, doesn't even really bother me or affect me. Other than, like, I used to be a liberal douchebag where I would, you know, point it out to them. You use that word, you know, or whatever the case may be. This is too big for all that anymore. Those words I don't even care about. Under the Candace Owens series, I did talk quite a bit about that, and that's why was starting to say at the beginning of the video was that, um, okay, Brother Sanchez. Brother Sanchez. I tried to call him out, and then when I called him out, his series was New Earth for Brother Sanchez, because New Earth, she was Indian, Eastern Indian. I don't know. I don't remember her exact nationality. Maybe Pakistani, maybe, or something like that. Nice girl. I'm trying to remember. Sylvia. Sylvia, I believe her name was. So in other words, I was trying to find the different colors and nationalities, if you want to call them that. But to me, it was more important about the colors. Wanted to find somebody of color because certain colors have gotten fucked for a long, long time. A lot longer than they think. These certain colors, they were bitching, they still are today, bitching, and rightfully so, but just not being done in the proper way. They've fallen into the programming and they believe the programming, so therefore they don't even know their true value and worth to the system, to the true creator system. And it's been a long time, and I tried to look back in history to see when this was. Like, the furthest back that I can get, that I can latch onto, that it all started being, the colors all started being mistreated, was the ancient Egyptians. Because, see, I say that because certain cultures showed that they were worshiping the true creator. And they were worshiping the true creator's work, which to me is more important than worshiping even the false creator and such creator's work. But the false creator such creator does deserve to be worshipped as well, because responsible for the biosystem, which is the consciousness that I'm using to have these words with you right now. But if we didn't have these words to come out of my mouth, then we could be using the true creator's energy to communicate with each other, which is even better, I guess, is my point to that. So when I look back and I see the ancient Egyptians, you know, with the felines, the big fucking cat that they built there and stuff. I don't know that the ancient Egyptians were really the ones responsible for building that cat. They might have come onto it. It might have been in earlier generations that might have done that. In those earlier generations, there was something that happened there where the best way I can see it, and the way that I seen this, was using the true creator's energy to see it, but my mind, you got it, just like everybody else, is filled with a lot of false programming from over the years that I have to also separate from the reality of the true creator's work. So I can't just latch onto it, and that's what I kept feeling like I was doing, was I was latching on to human memories planted, you know. So in other words, they can't really be relied on for anything more than trying to read between the lines of the stories, you know. But at some point, long before the ancient Egyptians, there was another, I don't know what to call them, that owned that property and built that cat. They also were responsible for building replicas of the true creator's builders. And they went through a lot of trouble to do so. So that means that we went from the big Peruvian stones, 50-ton to 350-ton stones. That would have been a different reset. That would have been a different reset. Because when we came back from that reset, we were no longer able to move, precisionally cut 50-ton to 350-ton stones out of the side of a mountain, buff them to a fucking shine, perfectly cut, designed, move them for hundreds of miles, down miles into holes and build them miles high. We weren't able to do that anymore because by the time we got to the ancient Egyptians, what they were using, again, probably from a previous 1,000 years, 2,000 years earlier, they found that the pyramids, and they just added to them. Because at that time, the reason why this is evidence for this is because they couldn't move anything over, you know, what, not very much weight at all, really. When you look at the pyramid stones, even then we say, well, how did they move a 5-ton stone and get it all the way up there, right, to make these big triangular? Because it wasn't their generation that did that. They came in and did repairs to those structures. But I think that was part of the a previous reset, and they came upon it after that reset. Then we had another reset. Now during those resets, I'm trying to do several things at the same time, and I'm fucking it up as usual. Um, okay, so during those resets, come on. Okay, there was a black king and a black queen, and at that time, that this Egyptian king and queen were ruling the ancient, pre-ancient Egyptians, I want to call them, because they were the pre-ancient ancients, 2,000 years probably before what we know of as the ancient Egyptians. And then they were living at least to 200 to 300 years at that time. And I say this again, this is not based on any programming because I've never heard this anywhere. Maybe it's possible, maybe it was buried deep and I just didn't remember it, but it seems like I got this information, this next part that I'm about to say, came from the true creator's energy and using it to go look around in different periods of time. Because like I was trying to explain to you before, the true creator's energy is all one, even time is all one. So when I'm using it, going back in time, going forward in time, doesn't work that way there. You can go to any time period immediately. So as soon as I leave here, I can immediately go to any time and space. But I have to be careful doing it because I'm using my conscious mind, my bio shell is here in this room right now, let's say, and then when I'm not breaking down my carbons to go travel and do this. I'm not doing it, so I have to be careful not to take any of programming with me when I'm going to use the system. When I'm using the true grid, I won't say it's difficult. It's only difficult when I make a big deal out of it. So I try to not do that. I just try to let it happen when it happens. And the only time it doesn't happen is when I force it not to happen because I say, oh no, I can't handle it. I just can't handle it right now. And I'll refuse to go or I'll refuse to acknowledge it at some points and stuff like that. Alright, so the Black King and Queen would have lived for 300 years, but unfortunately the Queen was murdered and she was taken out about 100, 150 years into her lifespan. So therefore the Black King of Egypt had married on to a white woman of Jewish descent. I don't even think they were called Jewish descent at that time. But when he took on her as a wife, my suspicion is, and I don't usually talk about this one. I think I may have mentioned it in one earlier video about it or something like that. But I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there for anybody else that might come along. Because maybe they'll know something of it that I don't. I mentioned it in the Candace Owens series, and I'm going to mention it again now. Alright, so that's when all the lies all started, all the deception of the ancient Egyptians. not the pre-ancient Egyptians who actually built all that system that the ancient Egyptians lived in and fixed up. They just fixed it up, kind of like the Peruvians did, right? Or the Aztecs, I believe it was. The Aztecs did to the Peruvian structures. Those again, those 350-ton stones are all at the bottom, and then you go up top, and there's 1-ton stones. Not even, some of them are very small. Again, you could tell that there was resets. There were resets that were happening in between these time periods, and you could see how our technology kept getting shittier and shittier and shittier until all of a sudden we end up at this certain time where we said, "Oh yeah, we came from cavemen. It was evolution, and we were at one time cavemen with rocks and stones, and it was like total. I mean, who the fuck's believing this shit when you know that you can go and find these structures, 350-ton stone, precisionally cut, moved for miles down, and your answers are God and space aliens. When neither one of those things are provable, right? So they're both provably false information, but yet that's what we all believed in. Again, using your imagination rather than just going and seeing reality for what it actually is. When reality itself, meaning the true creator, the false creator / creator, way better than any other fucking thing that we were ever sold. So why would we buy it? Why were we buying bullshit stories all that time when they were so nonsensical and we can just see truth and reality all around us? But yet we still, to this day, as I'm arguing with my family and friends all the time about all this nonsensical fucking lies, and they just go home pissed off and say that I don't know what I'm talking about. It's not a matter of no, I'm talking about. It's a matter I can show you the true creator's work. I can show it all to you. You just have to go look. I don't remember what that one was. All right, so back to the black and white story. So at some point, when the king got together, the black king and the Jewish queen, whatever happened with that, I don't know, but I know that the stories after that time are all lies. I know that we were never told the truth about them. So the ancient Egyptians, more so than the pre-ancient Egyptians, is very fascinating and should be to everyone that would even look, because that's pretty fucking incredible when you look back and see that we were lied to about the Egyptians. Again, all stories that are proven to be false. 7 views on this fucking video. The imagery is fucking banging. I should put a red filter on. Let me see if I change the filter. No, I don't, but it's really good. 7 views from 7-8 months ago, whatever the fuck it was. This is Jordan Peterson series part 53, so that would have been, last year. Early last year, I believe. And it's got, no views. It's unbelievable. The imagery is fucking banging. I might put a red filter on this. Let's see. No, but I'm already at 30-something minutes. 33 minutes? Or 38 minutes. Yeah, it's really good. So why were we lied to about the ancient Egyptians? Why were we lied to? Who took the trouble to go into those caves and change the color of the skin on all of the graphics? Who took the time to rearrange the history and claim that their fallout shelters and their fallout bunkers were extravagant in size, extravagant in builds, and possibly built by that particular culture that was in between these resets. So in between these resets, when we were losing technology, and the generation that was during these ancient Egyptian times, they had already lost the technology that they would have needed to build those structures. They had already lost it. It was in between a reset. That's provable. That's, you can see that for yourself if you go look at the true creator's work. I promise you all these things will become clear and you'll see them and understand them. And then the next part of it that I was talking about was the colors. When you see how the builders are all working and how the colors have make a difference and how things are being built and what's being built out of those particular colors. So in other words, it's easy to go from knowing about the colors, it's easy to go from there to, okay, then that means that on a human scale, if what I'm saying is correct, and it is, because I know it's correct, just none of you are going to look, so you won't know that it's correct. And then if you have a racial bias or whatever against what it is I'm explaining to you, then you're going to refuse even more so to go look. Because it's evidence that black humans, darker to black, the more electromagnetic, the more, yeah. So in other words, even reverse magnetism and magnetism. So magnetism and reverse magnetism, the color black is the best for that and is being used throughout the entire system right now to this very day. So to say that it was happening this way millions of years, thousands, 100,000, it was always this way, and it is still this way today. That's part of the evidence. When you start going and looking at the system, you'll notice that when they drop the trails out of the jets and they're running the mineral streets through the sky, kind of like in this video that I'm showing you right now, you look at it and you're going to see the blue sky as the black, and you're going to see the white as the white. So in other words, darker the colors go. Again, nobody wants to call them colors, they want to call them shades, which is fine. That's fine, I don't mind separating them for the sake of explanation. But when all the other colors come in, they come in as colors. In other words, right now in here, I've got greens going on. I've got yellows that you may not have any appreciation for. Anybody looking, your contrast in your eyes may not pick up them in colors. You may see these greens as dark grays, and you may see these yellows as lighter grays, for example, that kind of thing. And then, so I see right now where the average person might see 4 or 5 colors. I'm asking you to keep on looking because you'll get to see and understand what it is I'm saying. The illusion video I did the other day with the black square that goes back and forth with a different background, and then the square appears to be red and that kind of thing. That's one of the reasons why I put the filters on when I'm doing the videos. It's going to add contrast. It's going to, in a sense, crop images for you and make the imagery and make the imagery more crisp and clear for your eyes. Not that you need glasses to see them. It just means that different angles of perspective, you're going to see them in different ways, and different lights and shadows are going to provide you with um, a better visual of the imagery, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because if you had all darkness, you're not going to see them. If you had all light, you're not going to see them, right? So you need a combination of lights and shadows in order to. So I'm always big on lights and shadows and talking about lights and shadows, angles of, and distances of perspective, and all that shit. Well, I do. Even if you don't know that, I do. All right. So before this video ends, so we had these. So we had this black king and this Jewish queen in the end. And at the time they passed at 250, 300 years old or whatever it was when they finally both died off. And then somehow there was either another reset or kind of like they've been doing to us now for the last 2,500 years since the last reset. Just, I used to call it dumbing down the populations, but at this point, then we wouldn't call it dumbing down anymore. We'd have to call it smartening up. We've programmed and convinced the 7.8 billion zombies at this point. That's the count. Maybe 9 billion. We've convinced them that they're geniuses. Um, we've convinced ourselves to believe our own bullshit. And it's all bullshit. So unless we're going to take it upon ourselves to go look at the true creator's work and see the system for what it is, we're all just going to continue to lie to ourselves. It's not a fucking good idea. Black humans, anybody out there who's black, I don't really care about the nationalities. Really, it can go from black all the way through to the browns and stuff. Now, because I'm a straight male, I would definitely prefer to work with a black woman than a black man. But I'll take what I can get. But somebody of color should be big on what it is I'm showing you, because you guys have been getting fucked for about 3,000 years worse than any the rest of the slaves. The rest of the zombie slaves, we all got it bad, even those of us who think we have it good. So even white humans can think that we have things really good, but when you look at what they consider good, what we consider good, it's not really fucking good. So, you know, so in other words, there's no reason to be envious. But at the same time, you guys were fucked out of your land worse than the native Indians. In other words, the brown or lighter brown to red nationalities, colors. Those guys also have all gotten fucked, just like everybody has, but certain colors have gotten fucked, and I think there's a reason for this. In other words, I think there's a reason related to what it is I'm showing you on the screen up here. Um, you know, again, if the blacks are pushing and pulling everything into place everywhere I look, except in the bio-human realm that's controlled by humans and not controlled by the false creator/creator or the creator, because they don't really give a fuck. But if we don't know that and we think that we're going to praise them as God and they're in control of everything, when really it's a small handful of fucking humans that just keep resetting the system every 2 to 3,000 years as they dumb us down or intelligence us up, or however we're going to describe it. Alright, so then that means that the whole black population, all the way through the browns and the reds, and probably even to the yellows, which is another big thing we should be concerned with, because we're going back to yellow right now. We're about to have a reset, even a partial reset, and this entire earth, who thinks they're a spinning whip fucking pararocket ball, by the way, okay? So they all fucking think that when they're all made this decision a long time ago. All the Illuminati's and Freemasonry shit and all that kind of stuff all says we're going back to yellow. In other words, China, the Eurasias, they're all going to be the new leading world power. We don't live on a world. This is all imagination that they have implanted in us. They programmed us to believe all this fucking nonsense. So even our terminology as we talk about it reinforces world, new world order, when in really it's nothing new about it. It's tens of thousands, maybe millions of years old. There's no order to it, that's for sure. It's all based on order out of chaos, which is opposite of order. And it's not a world, right? So, all lies, everything bullshit, everything upside down, twisted around. Okay, so back to the idea of this. Okay, so if the people, the humans that are supposed to be pushing and pulling all of us into place, all the other colors, so the darkest of the black would be the most magnetic and the most reverse magnetism. They may need help from the lighter browns and darker browns, even for that matter, to control that magnetism. In other words, too much, too little, pushing, pulling. So as the colors go into play, just like in the clouds, just like building a tree, just like the creator building our human skin, building us as we grow, whenever we can look, we can see it all. In our skin, we can see the feline, canine, rodent, ape, human, and beast, all in our fucking bodies. It's everywhere, it's all around us. So the evidence is there visually. We can see that the reality that we could be living in is there for us to see. We deny it, and we go along with the bullshit stories. Alright, before the video ends, probably going to already be over, and then I'll be pissed. I want to get this part out. So when those ancient Egyptians not the pre-ancient Egyptians, but the ancient Egyptians, the ones that were still living to 300 years old, when they got fucked out of their land and they got screwed over, I hate to say it because I'm not trying to pick on any one nationality or anything, because obviously the Black King must have fell in love with the Jewish woman, in order to make her the Jewish queen. And she might have already been a queen anyway somewhere else, or a princess somewhere. I don't know. The story, I never went back into get the rest of the story. Maybe someday I will if I have time, if I'm not taken out before then. But anyways, as that time period ended and we had another reset, then when the reset came back up, we all came out of our caves, out of our shells. All that information over the next couple thousand years was all lied about. So in other words, before they took all the sand off of the pyramids, before they took all the sands off of the big feline, they changed a lot of shit. They'd already changed portholes and entrances and the shapes of them. They already, who did it? The Greek and the Romans, whites, in other words, white humans, changed that history from way back then, from that long ago. They changed that history. And here we flash forward a couple thousand years, maybe more, whatever they claim, 4,000 years. And then we come to today, and we still go by that false history, even though we all should be smart enough to look at everything and put it all together and say, wait a minute now, this is fucking weird. These images that were being shown, they're getting lighter and lighter as time goes on. The shape of their noses and their faces is changing. Why is it only these certain parts are broken up? And wait a minute, can we really say this is the ancient Egyptians, or should we call them the pre-Egyptians? That kind of thing. We don't do none of that. We just go along with it. Oh, carbon dated it, and we, it's always a fucking lie. You think they're gonna build all those fucking bunkers back then to bury one king or two kings and his wife or no, 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 no. There were bunkers. They knew there was going to be a reset. They were doing they did a reset, just like we're about to do. Wake the fuck up, everyone. Yeah, this is a really good video. I'm gonna bounce it over to here though. It's a little darker. It might be easier to see what you can see and check the time. Alright, so it's already at 42 minutes. I'll leave it going. Yeah, it's fucking good, man. It's a good video. 7 views. Been up for almost a year. And no one's looking. This is my evidence that what I'm dealing with here are a lot of agents. We have a lot of YouTube agents and robots, and then we have all the alphabet soups. And I know the alphabet soups because they're following me even on Craigslist and shit. Like I said, I've been doing that for years too. They're in my emails. They're in control of every fucking thing. And then if you talk about it, everyone says, "Oh, that's conspiracy, crazy nonsense." No, man. And the slow boil. That's the most frustrating part, is that we all know that anyone who's on the awakening, no matter what, even if they're not seeing what I'm showing you, and you're on the awakening, then one of the most frustrating things is the slow boil. The slow boil has been at a high boil for a long fucking time. And we give all the zombies the benefit of the doubt, and we say, oh, they'll wake up when they turn up the boil. When they turn up the boil, as they keep turning it up, that's when it's going to be everybody else. That's when mom and dad will finally wake up and realize that all the wars were all fucking part of the scam, and that they sent our brothers and sisters off to fight in these wars. They'll understand that the whole tax system is all a fucking fraudulent bunch of shit, and all the shit that we buy, the majority of it, what we call technology, is all garbage, and that we're going along with, and you think to yourself that it'll all become clear. But as I listen to this guy, who I'll on the next 5 videos I do, I'll try to play some of these guys because I want to get into it. Casey Means, the Canadian prepper is his name. Nate, the Canadian prepper, and then also that other girl that I like a lot too. I think Brianna, I think her name is, and stuff like that. I want to go in on her and her buddy. I don't remember the name of the channel either. I want to say Crispy or something like that, but it's not. Spike? Surprise? I don't know. I'll go look it up. I had everything written down, but then I threw my papers all over the place when the agent drove by earlier. Because in the earlier video, I've got one of the. They call me every day. I mean, every fucking day they're calling from another number. They're, I'm assuming locking into my phone, I guess, just to verify and have it on record where I am at every given moment and that kind of thing. Because what you're going to do is, if they're trying to set me up on something, so when they do set me up on something, they have to be sure that I'm someplace that I cannot prove that I was at, and somewhere where they can set me up on it. In other words, if I always have an alibi, let's say, for example, they want to know, does he have an alibi? Is he at this residence alone, or are there others with him? They can easily do that. They know how many computers are running in the house. They know who watches what in this house, just like every other house that I go and visit with or whatever. They got all the information they need. Their garbage technology that I'm telling you is all garbage is what they're using. It's human technology that we, the majority, the 7.8 billion slaves, we deny that it's even happening. We deny that it's even real, that's real. That part we say, oh no, no one's going to pay attention to that stuff, you know? Fucking unbelievable, man. In other words, do they have the technology to get into all the cameras on all the houses in this neighborhood? You bet your ass they do. Do they have cameras on every fucking telephone pole anywhere that I could possibly go out of this house right now and drive